Hi, my name is Dwayne Gathers, and welcome to Civitas LA, featuring diverse and emerging voices in this dynamic region who are creating and serving community every day and building a better tomorrow. In these bi-weekly conversations, we hear from, learn from, and are inspired by a new generation of civic entrepreneurs moving our region forward and making Los Angeles a stronger, more resilient, and connected group of citizens. As Civitas LA continues to celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month, we are pleased to offer our newest community spotlight, Southeast Los Angeles, comprising the cities of Bell Gardens, Commerce, Cudahy, Huntington Park, Maywood, South Gate, and Vernon. This region is home to close to 450,000 residents, 90% of whom identify as Latinx. Long challenged by environmental justice issues, local government scandals, and lack of resources, the region has had to face head-on the COVID-19 pandemic, as many in these working-class communities represent truly the essential workers upon whom our regional economy rests. Working to address these challenges and foster collaborative solutions to raise the collective voices for the region is the Southeast Community Development Corporation, and Civitas LA is delighted to be joined in studio today by Andy Carrasco, Vice President of Southern California Gas Company, who also serves as Board Chair of SCDC, and Emma Hernandez, Executive Director of SCDC. Emma and Andy, welcome to Civitas LA.
Thank you for having us.
Well, we're grateful for you to be here in studio on this beautiful Saturday morning in Los Angeles. So, Andy and Emma, as we all like to begin, we always appreciate if the guests will share with us a brief personal introduction. And Andy, we know you're board chair of SCDC, but chivalry still exists here at Civitas LA. So, ladies first. Emma, give us a little brief bio.
So my name is Emma Hernandez. I'm Chief Executive Officer of the Southeast Community Development Corporation. I actually grew up in Cudahy, and I am a proud graduate of Bell High School. And I wanted to share that when I was in high school, I was part of a organization called Junior State of America.
Okay.
And at the time, what we did is we focused on the issues of our community, and we learned to volunteer and to get involved with getting out the vote. And from that, I learned that I really wanted to be part of giving back to our community at some point. So I went on and earned couple of master's degree, and I've come back, and I'm so happy to be serving as CEO of Southeast Community Development Corporation.
So a couple of master's degrees. How many masters and in what?
I have a master's degree in behavioral psychology.
Oh, wow.
And another master's degree in human development.
Excellent. Mr. Carrasco.
Hi, good afternoon. Glad to be here today. I'm going to start off with a great story with Southern California Gas Company. The encouragement of the ability to give to our community, to give back, is key for us, and that makes me really proud to serve on the SCDC's board chair. I've been involved now for 10 years, and for the last 3 years served as board president. I am delighted to know that the work that we're doing is a game changer, life-changing for many of our communities in the southeast portion of LA County. But I will also let you know that I grew up just up the 710 in East Los Angeles, facing similar situations, and I'm going to put it out as opportunities, because if you want to take a look at just the negative side of things, we can. But there's also a lot of growth and opportunities and challenges we can tackle. I remember when I was in high school, I went to Garfield High School.
Okay.
I was a student of Jaime Escalante, and I always tell people, math saved my life. And so STEM to me is personal. A focus on technology is personal. And I think that is a game changer for our community, for individuals who really need one person, one organization to believe in them and give them that one step up so that their life and their community changes.
Yeah, absolutely. That's terrific. So, Andy, SCDC is a relatively new organization, I believe founded in 1994. So share with us a short history of the organization and the community served.
Sure. As Dwayne, as you stated, SCDC is relatively new in 1994. And it came together from a realization of some social and economic issues that existed in Southeast region, the 8 member cities that you listed just a while ago. And I do want to give credit to our former state senator, Martha Escutia, who's brought us together to address these economic issues regionally and look at how prospectively we can focus on these. We at SCDC were created on belief that our community issues, our community problems needed to be looked at and solved by us, looked at ways on how we were going to address these issues. And so we came together, we looked and partnered with local elected officials, with local businesses to really establish the nonprofit to address some of these issues. And some of these issues dealt with transportation, dealt with economic development, dealt with housing issues, dealt with better educational systemic issues. And by the way, they still all exist. In many ways, they still need a lot of work. But that is the impetus for SCDC and how it started. Now, you'll say, wow, that is a lot to tackle. Sure. And it is, and it was. And I think with time, and Emma would agree, that we knew that we needed to get even more focused on and really the technology angle and the digital divide spotlight that needed to be handled. And this was even 10 years ago when it started taking shape, way before the pandemic here. We knew that we needed to do something different and a lot focused.
So, Emma, from your standpoint, were these issues not being addressed by other organizations at the time?
There were many organizations then that still exist today that were doing great work and still are. However, they're focused in specific areas like childcare or health or seniors. And SCDC came to be because we needed an organization that focused on these same issues, but in a regional way. So the issues that we were focused on were housing, transportation, employment, improving our education, and then creating job opportunities. So that's where SCDC was playing that role of trying to bring in resources and trying to strengthen the region by creating like a collaboration among these nonprofits. So we became a leader, and we became an organization that was going to look at these issues and advocate for the community as a whole. Now, as Andy had mentioned, some time had passed. The one issue that was really having an impact on all these different areas was the digital divide, which is how we came to focus a lot on that. And again, the digital divide is impacting all these areas. It impacts housing and folks being able to get health care and job opportunities and so forth. So that's what we're focused on right now.
And just quickly, these are 8 cities. So how easy or difficult was it to corral, these 8 cities? They all have, their own personalities. They all have, their own city councils, and sometimes there's not a lot of collaboration across our region. How easy or difficult was it getting these officials all together?
It's definitely a challenge, and even today, it's still something that we're working towards. Okay. And we get a lot of collaboration. One of the things that happens is over time, even though our electeds change, many of the staff are still there. And so we create really strong relationships with the staff that are going to be there, over time. And then we're always working towards making sure that we really have our residents, our clients in mind as we do the work that we do. And as long as we're doing that, we get great collaboration.
Sure.
I will also add, the 8 cities did invest in SCDC in its inception and provided resources to do that. Okay. And to date, it comes in various forms. Some are in monetary. Some provide space for our technology center. Some provide the opportunity to bring our programs and services to the streets, literally, whether it's a fair that they're having or whether we're being hosted at City Hall or whatever it may be, where we roll up in our mobile technology lab. We do continue to partner, in the cities and the county are very necessary in the work. And luckily for us, recognize the good work and keep getting invited to participate.
That's right. So we have technology centers in city-owned buildings in Cudahy, Bell Gardens,
Okay.
Bell, and then nonprofits also house some of our, like the YMCA has a lab, a computer lab in their facility. So we are not able to do the work that we do without their help.
Sure. Well, yeah, Emma, you just touched on this. So speak to some of the various programs and initiatives of the organization. What are some of the signature programs that you guys offer?
So we're one of the programs that I really enjoy is the Youth Development Program. And that program really focuses on teaching our kids 21st century skills. So things that they need to know regardless of what career that they're going to go to. So problem solving skills, teaching them to work on teams, being creative and learning to what I call tinkering, which is, pulling something apart and trying to put it back together. And then really knowing how to fail good, right? You mess up and then you try again and you work, towards figuring things out and learning to learn and loving to learn, right? So we do all that in our tutoring program after school, our STEM summer program. The specific topics that we currently are focused on is coding, robotics, electronics that require programming, and audio video editing. So here's kind of what happens. So we have a kid, like this one little kid named Chris. He came to us. He was 7 years old, and he came in and we asked him, so what's your superpower? And he said, I don't know. And many kids are like Chris, and they come in at different ages, and the answer is often the same: I don't know. But as they experience our program, they then start talking about themselves as, I'm a coder, I'm an engineer, and they just fill it in. And when you ask them what their superpower is over time, they can tell you what their superpower is. They've developed it. And sometimes all they need is some time to practice some of these things. Sometimes they didn't even know they were going to love it, and then they love it. And they come to the tech center, and it's like their second home. They're coming for all these different programs. They're the ones asking their parents, can you sign me up?
Okay.
So I really enjoy it. That's one of the programs. We also, from that, we've learned that our kids need to have technology at home. Right. So we have our technology initiative, which is focused on the low-cost internet program, the digital literacy for their parents and senior citizens, and also getting folks, access to computers. And so how this has played out is, for instance, we have the Rodriguez family. Their children have been coming to our tech center. During the pandemic, we wanted to have the kids join us via Zoom, right? But they didn't have the technology. Sure. So we were able to get them connected at home, provide them with a free computer, and then provide them with the classes so that they can still join us. The family was really interested in making sure that their children weren't just at home hanging out. So that's one of the things that we did, so they were able to join us. Yeah. We also have things that we do, like the Census 2020. You know how important that is for our community, right? To making sure that the funding comes into our communities that's needed for all types of things. It was going to be so hard, right? But we normally do like door to door, and we call on the phone, and now we adjusted. We did texting and social media, and talking to people, saying word of mouth, folks, this is how it works. I need you to talk to your family and your friends, and who's the tia who can get everybody going, and those are some of the programs that we work on.
Well, I've heard you both loud and clear thus far, Andy, and that is getting connected appears to be if not the signature focus for SCDC, and as you stated, even before the pandemic. I noted that there was a UC Berkeley study which suggested that Southeast LA residents are not connected to the internet, and that further exacerbates disparity. So, how can you speak to how this has informed the work of SCDC and initiatives underway to address this in your communities?
Absolutely. Thank you for that question. And that study was in the early 2000s, and it really did identify that digital divide. And through that study, we
Can I stop you there? So this was the early 2000s, and here this was the topic du jour during the pandemic. So why has it taken everyone this long to get excited about the digital divide and conquering it?
We actually pound on the table with that same question every single day.
Okay.
We've been trying for many years, and we'll go up to a decade and beyond to really bring to light, this was an issue, and it was an issue that we were taking on, and really trying to have people understand that connectivity was a problem for individuals, for families, and now for students. And it came front and center during the pandemic, and it only made us even stronger with our goals and focus to really take this on now that we had everyone's attention, now the pandemic. So that question you asked, Dwayne, is right on point, and we've been asking that same question. You know, we look at it through a three-prong approach. You know, one thing is really getting connected, and that is a big issue. Do people have the ability to even go online? That's to level set, right? Number one. We know that people have the ability that may have a smartphone, but you're not going to have an expectation that a one smartphone household is going to be able to complete homework with 3 kids or more in a single house. That's impossible. All right, that's number one, being connected. Number two is having that ability of having the right devices, the right, whether it's a laptop or a tablet. Do we have those in the hands of the folks that need it? And Emma, thank you for describing those programs. But what we're talking about are just simple little things that are game changers, that matter, that everyone takes advantage of. For instance, if you talk to your grandparent, your abuelitos, and they want to, make an appointment to go see their doctor because they can't, if you're not connected, they are now forced to try to get a ride if they don't have a car, to get to the clinic, to get to the hospital, to get that appointment if they can do so. Everyone else is jumping online and making that appointment. And so it's as simple as that, right? Or a mom who's checking to see if her student even went to school today, right? Or checking to see what the homework is needed. It was those little simple things that our community did not have. And so I talked about being connected. I talked about the ability to have the right devices. And being connected, and by the way, means having access to the internet, right? And we all know what the cost of internet is. In some cases, that is just not affordable. And so we were looking to low-price internet options for our community to do that. And we did. And we had some good programming, and a lot of our community took advantage of that. And the last thing is just digital literacy. We used to talk about, okay, Emma, you know how to take Excel. I want you to take Excel 2.0, and I want you to be really good at PowerPoint. That's great. But that is not what we're talking about. If we can offer that, we will. We're talking about the ability for mom and dad to be able to even turn on the computer and what it meant to hit a start button, right? Or what an app meant, or what it is to, take a look at how to submit a resume for a job, because job resumes aren't being taken on paper anymore.
Right.
And so it was those simple things that we all take advantage of, many of us who are connected, but it was those things that were putting us behind. And if you have a child that enters school today and is not connected, doesn't have the right device, doesn't have the digital literacy, they're going to be behind day one and for the rest of their education.
Sure. But to the extent that this conversation around digital divide does look at A, infrastructure, B, devices, and as you rightly said, literacy as well, how is your organization, filling that gap? Where's the biggest where does the biggest problem lie? And how does your organization help fill that gap? And then how do you expand on that work?
I'm going to start, Emma, and I'm going to turn it over to you because I know you've done a lot of good work and research on the infrastructure. On the digital literacy, Emma gave a really good menu of our programs and services. We're going to continue to do that and make sure that we teach our community on the various aspects of not only learning and not being afraid of logging on, but what are the opportunities, whether it's job seeking, whether it's coding, whether it's teaching our kids that robotics is an option for a career and getting their first foot in the door on that.
And how many folks are you able to serve through the course of a year, for example, in these programs?
So the youth program basically serves about 2,500 kids.
Okay. That's a large amount.
Yeah, a pretty good amount. And incredibly, prior to the pandemic, we didn't have as many parents coming in. But right now, during the evenings from 6 to 8, we're providing classes. And each class, we're getting, on the lower end, 20 folks. And on the higher end, we've getting like 100, 120. So we've been able to do some amazing outreach. And I think the parents are really now looking towards helping keep their kids safe online, and then helping them helping the kids access their education. So now they're feeling the need to, learn themselves and how to work these devices. But even beyond that, some of the kids are not at home when they're doing their homework. They're at a grandparent's house, and so we also provide classes that are live to senior citizens to help them with those type of things.
Go ahead, Andy.
Yeah, I just also want to just put a plug in for our mobile technology lab.
Okay. Tell us about that.
Yeah, we have we had a great partnership with the city of Vernon, who donated an RV, and basically it's a 15 student traveling classroom, fully connected, and the ability to expand and stay mobile and offer a lot of these digital literacy classes. But it also served and used in many other ways. Emma can tell you it was used for job fairs for people who were looking to apply for jobs. It was used for the census. It was used to have folks get connected in many ways at various community health fairs and community fairs in general. And that thing, I think we unfortunately had, because of COVID, had to park it for a while. But I think it's back out.
It's back out now. For instance, we were out at a fair at the city of Bell. So folks can come by and then learn more about our programs. But more recently, we were giving away computers and hotspots to students. And so we brought out the technology center so we can use our computers to register them and to do all the paperwork. We're also working with Metro to help them with their community outreach for the Metro programs, because they're doing some getting some feedback from the community on those things. But we're also able now to set up, and we've been able to do this in the past, but there was less of a request for outdoor computer labs. So we're bring out a canopy, 6-foot chairs, and put a computer lab. We can 40 computers, 20 computers, however many are needed, we are able to do that.
Well, we are blessed that the sun does shine often here in Southern California, so we should take this outdoors.
Yes.
Well, I know that, the region is home to, large working class families who comprise really the essential workers of our region, as I noted earlier. And I recall in the LA Times at one point I saw a story during the height of this pandemic that we've all been navigating, that 12% of the population is in this Southeast LA area, yet at one point comprised close to 20% of COVID cases. So hugely, hugely impacted. Can you speak to the impact of the pandemic on your work and on the lives of those from these communities, and how are your approaches to these programs evolving as a result of the pandemic?
Right. So in our work, we quickly went to the different types of technologies. So earlier I mentioned we used text messaging, right, to communicate with our clients. We moved everybody, of course, to working from home and getting our staff some internet at home as well that was a good enough speed with the right computers. As far as the community goes, we know that they experienced 25% of our population reported that there was job loss. 45% had their hours cut or their pay reduced. And we also know that 19% of businesses shut down or lost revenue. So the impact has been tremendous. Of course, we know about the health implications, but it goes beyond the health implications. We know that our community is primarily Spanish-speaking at home. English speakers were able to, 51% of them were able to work from home. However, when we're talking about Spanish-speaking homes, we know that only 28% of those families were able to stay home to work. So we know, as you mentioned in the beginning, our community are home of essential workers. So our folks were out doing the work that they needed to be done in person. So they were out there. And then your question about how have we changed? We were hurrying up to help our clients learn how to go online. So we actually had some of our staff go out to people's homes to set up their hotspots or their computers to the internet and set up their links so that they were able to go and just click on the link to then join our classes. This is for senior citizens. For the kids, they had computers. Unfortunately, some of their computers, because they were from the school district, were blocked for certain websites.
Okay.
So that was a bit of a challenge. So for some of them, we had to help them learn how to unblock that, or other times we actually had to provide them with a different device because some of those devices just didn't have what they needed to have in order to participate in our programs.
So you've got a community of 8 cities, 450,000 plus or minus citizens. How large a team do you have going out there and meeting these needs?
Right. So we currently have, well, at the time we had, I think, we initially started with like 5 people.
Okay. Wow.
So right now we have about 17 staff that are working with us.
Okay.
So yeah, that was, and I want to say this was the work of an amazing staff, most of them who are from the Southeast LA area, who know firsthand what it's like to have all these challenges. And so when we asked them, would you be willing to do this? And we kind of said, what it looked like, our staff in a car with their window slightly open, with a mask, right, and a shield, and pass that computer through the window. Let me set it up for you. Pass it back, and that's what it looked like. And people were so happy to be able to join our classes, and for many folks, we even created drop boxes at our office so that people can come in and drop off documentation so that they can be able to sign up to the low-cost programs. Or we would drop a computer into a box and they'd go in there with a code and get their computer that they can now take home because they own that computer. And all types of collaborations occurred with other nonprofits when we knew we had to get up and go out there and get folks vaccinated when the time came. And so that was another shift that we did. We're good at outreach, right? So we needed to go out there, and it was really one of those scary moments for our staff, right? Where we know that we do the work that we do out of love, but there was a point where we know we've got to be concerned about our own health and the health of our loved ones, right? And as a team, we talked about it and said we can keep ourselves safe. Everything we did outdoors. We wore masks, and I think what it was knowing that we were helping to save lives in our community, right? So we got together with other organizations like the Cella Collaborative, who was a huge leader in the vaccination efforts in our region, and we were out there, getting people to stay 6 feet apart, having them wait, doing outreach, calling on the phone. I mean, literally calling on the phone late at night, early in the morning, trying to get folks vaccinated. So our work today, we're now shifting back to going back, I wouldn't say to normal, but we've got smaller numbers indoors, and we were really missing our robotics team because we were doing such amazing work. I mean, the kids, you can't do robotics offline.
It's really difficult.
You can't, So we've got now these kids coming in. That was the first group that came in, and they're actually getting ready for a competition to so that we're going to be competing pretty soon. I say we, even though it's just
Yeah.
we watch them, but
Exactly.
I'm always like I do my best to always be there when they're there, because it's just inspiring to watch what they do. So you guys gotta keep track of our robotics team.
Right.
We're the SCDC Robo Warriors.
They're amazing. I actually just want to put a couple more things. Just
please.
as we're laying it out.
But also, Andy, as you add those things, Emma seems to suggest that the team made it work, and they stayed safe in making it work. So, what positives can you say have evolved from this in terms of the organization and or community? Because it seems though certainly the collaboration has been one positive. But please.
Yeah, no, thank you for that question. I will tell you that I was going down exactly that direction, the collaboration and the partnerships that we found. And it's interesting because Emma and I were having a conversation, and we have many conversations throughout the month. And one of the things we were talking about during the pandemic was it wasn't enough, and we realized that you can provide a family, a student with a laptop and a hotspot, and in some cases we needed a tutor.
Okay.
All right. We needed to be able to really put the ability, again, for the technology, the connectivity, the literacy, but also during these times where everybody was learning from home, a tutor. And so Emma and I had a great partnership. And I said, Emma, I'm willing to bring some resources if we can focus on populations of students and team them up with one-on-one tutors so that they can get their work done.
Mm-hmm.
And so Emma looked for partnerships, and I think
I'd love to tell that part of the story, because one of the things that happened was we were so ready. Even before the pandemic, we knew we needed tutors, right? 50% of our kids prior to the pandemic in our region do not meet or exceed state standards. That's 50% prior to the pandemic. So that already, that's always been something that bothers me, right? I grew up in the community. I'm like, how can we be there? But now just imagine post-pandemic or during this pandemic, we're not even post yet, right? And what impact that has had on our kids' education. So we needed the tutors. But we wanted to create a state-of-the-art tutoring program. And thank you, Andy, really. Southern California Gas came through with the resources that we needed to create it. So we got together with Cal State Dominguez Hills. They have an education department. And so their juniors and seniors needed to get service hours in order to earn their degree. But they couldn't go out to the schools, right? And they weren't able to get their degrees unless they did this work. So we were able to also get a teacher, a credentialed teacher, to work with us to create a program to have these kids, these young undergrads who are trained to be teachers, to then be the tutors of the kids in our neighborhoods.
And is this in-person tutoring?
This was actually through Zoom.
Online.
No.
Okay.
We were at the height of the pandemic, so no face-to-face, no in person.
No. But it was cool to figure out how to get the technology for it, because you would think just the Zoom, but you can't. So we had these cameras on the tables, and it was just amazing. The tutors, they created a pattern of how do we assess the kids, how do we help each of them, because we know one-to-one tutoring is the best, right?
Absolutely.
So we had one-to-one tutoring for the kids. We did this 4 times a week. We served 100 kids. Each of them got a computer and a hotspot, and they were ready to go. Right. And these kids, one of the things that we were able to do is to ask them for their progress reports and their report cards to see what impact we had. And we were so glad to see that. And even from the parents' reports, we made a tremendous impact. The kids, all of them, did well in school.
That's great.
They all did.
I wish there was 10,000 in that 100, but
goodness.
We did what we could. So that was one of the greatest things, is thinking about what do we do differently and who do we need to collaborate with in these partnerships, and that was one. I do want to also point out one other thing that we were thinking about is, we talk about economic vitality, economic impact, and Emma alluded to, that 20% of business loss. If you just take a look at one sector, a restaurant sector,
Sure.
and a lot of our community are entrepreneurs, and a lot of it is in the food industry, whether it's that paletero in the corner or whether it's that mom and pop little restaurant, they were closed.
Sure.
And if they didn't have a way to either connect with DoorDash or an Uber Eats or curbside, they were going to be done. And so if you think about what technology can do, and even on that front, it's a game changer for families and for businesses. So we're thinking about, how do we go even beyond just our populations of our what you would think it would be a student or a parent. It goes beyond that, and we're looking at what can we do for businesses as well.
Yeah.
Because this is here to stay.
Well, you speak to the evolution of collaboration and partnerships, and we always like to feature that on Civitas LA. And I saw a statement by a Southgate Councilmember, Denise Diaz, who's quoted as saying that the region is commonly the donut hole of LA County, with funding and resources going to neighboring cities, but not here. But it seems that a new initiative, which I think Emma's spoken to, is this SELA Collaborative, Southeast LA Collaborative, which is a network of organizations of which you guys are a part. And I believe that they are trying to bring together even a larger group of organizations to really take on the role of increasing vitality, but elevating the voice of the region. Can you speak to that organization? And I know that came up with recently a big SELA agenda.
Yeah, I'm going to give a big plug right now for our SCDC board.
Okay.
And I want to just thank them through this programming for the heavy lifting and focused work, because Councilwoman Denise Diaz, we're very fortunate to have her on our board.
Okay,
she's
terrific.
Part of the SCDC board.
Okay.
So I just want to give a shout out to her and many of the other board members who have been relentless and lend of their time and talent to the board. So, but I know, Emma, you participate on that collaborative quite often. So you want to speak to that?
Yeah. So the SELA Collaborative was actually brought together, but also nonprofit organizations. So we've got like the Human Service Association, the Southeast YMCA. We've got ELAC, Cal State LA.
Oh, right. East LA Community College.
East LA,
Yep,
yes,
yep.
East LA Community College. And so many of these organizations have come together, and we're also looking at this as a region. So we're trying to bring all these resources as a region. We also know that in order to have the efforts make a stronger difference in our community, we need to make sure that we connect with leaders in our community. So the SELA Collaborative, we've got the core members, and we're also making sure we partner with other organizations like businesses or schools and so forth. And so some of our policy areas that we're focused on is education, environmental justice, economic recovery, especially now that the COVID pandemic has had an impact on that. Healthcare for families and just overall community wellness. So not just the individual, but overall. Yeah. And then housing, making sure we have investments, whether they're immediate investments and long-term investments. As far as the nonprofit sector, we know that when the government is not able to do some of the work, that nonprofit organizations are the ones that do the work. So we want to make sure that we increase the capacity of nonprofit organizations. So we have nonprofit organizations. Some of us are really small. Like our organization is considered a smaller organization. But organizations like ours need the assistance to continue doing the work that we do, but also to bring in more of those fundings. Because as you had mentioned earlier, yes, we actually sometimes get left out. So we're trying to make sure that we're talking to our legislators, that we're communicating with our city councils throughout the region, that we're working as a team to bring changes into our community. So that brings us to civic engagement and then just overall regional advocacy.
Well, certainly, I think, leaders like Denise Diaz and Southgate and yourselves, of course, are stepping up and forging more collaboration. And I know from my own sort of economic development experience in the region in the last 20 years, every time I had read about or heard about Southeast Los Angeles, it was always in the context of, the environmental justice issues, the Exide factory there, plant there. There's always issues around, local governance issues, shall we say, or I saw one article that described as corridors of corruption. But clearly it seems like new leadership is taking over. So Andy, can you speak to that and, some of the issues that have generally been associated with Southeast LA and how we're trying to move beyond that?
Yeah, I think you, Dwayne, you named them, and unfortunately, that sometimes people think of the region in that way. But the matter of the fact is here is that we do have new leadership. We have actually leadership that is emerging constantly as we see election cycles come by, and it comes from a place of betterment. And I've seen it myself, and I've even seen the ascension of council members move up to the state legislator arena and try to change it from a regional perspective. I have no doubt that we are well aware of these issues. But I can also tell you there are bright spots. There are individuals like Emma Hernandez sitting here in front of me who are looking to make that difference. There are individuals in the healthcare, and there are individuals in other sectors in the business arena. Though that negative spotlight is on there, we're on a course to change the Southeast, and that collaborative effort is one way to do that. And it really begins and it's an ask, and I know that it's one that Emma will follow me and scream as well. Is, hey, we invite people to provide their talents, their resources, and give to organizations like ours, SCDC, so that we can continue to strengthen and continue to make Southeast Los Angeles a vibrant place.
Mm-hmm. Well, certainly as leading stakeholders and concerned citizens, where do you see Southeast Los Angeles in the next decade? What is your hope for the region? And how do you think the work of SCDC will evolve to meet the needs of communities?
In 10 years, from here till then, we will continue closing that digital divide. We're going to continue working on them. I think about the fact that when my first freshman year in college, mm-hmm. I walked in there trying to be a computer science and engineering major. Okay. And I learned quickly that I was missing some skills. And it was, the skills that I was missing is I didn't know how to properly use a microscope because I didn't have the experience of using it. So other kids got that lab and just got it done. I, on the other hand, had to figure out how to turn the machine on, right? So I'm still that kid, actually, sometimes. I look at the kids that come through the door and I'm like, I am not going to allow these kids to go on to college or whatever experience they choose mm-hmm. and not be ready. The kids that come through our door will be ready. So mm-hmm. we give them the experiences and the skills that they need to when they walk through that door, they get right to the lab. They get right to the work that needs mm-hmm. to be done. And I'm hoping that 10 years from now, that the digital divide goes from, our 30% of Spanish speakers not being connected to maybe less, one-digit numbers. And sure. Maybe SCDC won't need to do the work that we're doing. Maybe we won't exist. Maybe mm-hmm. we'll, there will be another issue, maybe art. I don't know.
There's always going to be need for organizations to continue driving, community engagement and the policy work that you guys do. So I'm sure you'll be around for a lot of years.
we will, but I think Emma and I were talking about this. It was like, wouldn't it be great if we just close that gap and mm-hmm. then kind of basically had to evolve to something else?
Sure.
And that would be a good goal.
Right.
And it would be a great goal. There are challenges, and we know that. And Dwayne, you brought it up very clearly. Now that the spotlight is on connectivity and who has it and who doesn't, we realize there's still a lot of work to do.
There is. I think the work right now, that we're going to be working on is when we talk about, earlier we talked about infrastructure, right? So there's data that show that a whole lot of our community is connected. But the way the data is looked at is that they're connected with a hotspot, or they're connected with a phone, or they're connected with a wired line, but it only gives them, 30 megabits per second,
okay.
Right?
So it's the quality of that connection.
Yeah, so we need to not have that. We need to have like 200 megabits per, 300 megabits per second. Yep. And we're thinking about computers. Many kids have Chromebooks. Chromebooks are good for basic work, but if you really want them to learn 21st century skills, they need a fully functioning computer,
Right.
and classes that go with that. So it's not enough to have it, but you need to teach them how to use it. So I'm hoping that from here to there, that's what we're looking at. And I'm thinking, whoever's listening, there are so many opportunities, right, to work with us, to work on this issue. Yeah. And we've had so many folks provide volunteer. They can come in and volunteer with us, or if they know somebody who's able to help us with teaching coding, or if they have resources, we'd be more than happy to put them to work. I know as a kid, I knew I'd come back and
Sure.
get that help. And many of us go out and do work. And I thank Andy because he does the work that he does, and he works with us as a volunteer.
Yeah, that's
so
great.
He's a volunteer. We need more Andys.
Yeah, come on! I invite everybody. Dwayne, I want to put a plug in, and we didn't mention this because I think
Please.
this is so exciting for us. Is our makerspace?
Oh yes.
Oh, tell us about that.
When I was just a few years back, and Emma and Caesar, our prior executive director, who's great, and want to give him a ton of kudos for his vision and execution of the work for the past decade or so, said, I want to bring a makerspace into the Southeast.
Right.
Right. And I said, what the heck's a makerspace?
What is this? Okay.
Okay. So Dwayne, yes, I had that same question. You might have it.
No,
others.
it's a dream. So we
Tell 'em,
I have 2 girls. Okay, my girls now are 13 and 15. And so I wanted them to be, I wanted to learn coding. I don't necessarily want them to be engineers or whatnot, but I know that coding and robotics and those concepts of problem solving and the engineering process, because you're an engineer, you know about this
Yes,
stuff,
I am.
right? I wanted my girls to know about this, but there weren't any classes. In the school, there weren't classes that really taught it. And so what ended up happening is that I started looking around. I went to children's museums. I went to maker spaces. And what happened was I was going to have to pay like tons of money for these classes. And they were like 2-week classes for $600 or 1 week for $200. And I was like, wow, how in the world will our community be able to provide these type of opportunities to the kids? Like maybe I'll be able to pay for a few, but our families were not going to be able to do this. So that's where it started, where I went to this museum in Downey. I'm trying to remember the name of it, but in Downey there's a really cool museum, and they had these really cool robots. And I was so excited coming back to like wanting to be an engineer. And I was like, wow, we bought one of these, and we started a class at the tech center. And 5 kids, 1 robot, and we started teaching them, coding and engineering and robotics and everything. And then from there, we decided, you know what? We need to make a makerspace. What's a makerspace? It's where you have this cool technology, and in this case, we've got 3D printers, we've got like soldering tools, we've got some sewing machines, and this embroidery machine that has a computer. You can like make your, anybody knows Laverne and Shirley, embroidered L, whatever symbol you want, you can have it uploaded onto the computer on the machine. It'll embroider
Do its
it.
thing.
Yeah. And so that's what we have over at the Bell Technology Center. We have a place where people can come, use our equipment, and learn how to do things. And this is going to be super helpful to like, I have this one story, this one little girl, and her name's Eileen. Her mom has a business of party, does party events, party planning,
event planning.
Yeah, event planning.
Event
and so
planning,
she's got all these things that she wants to do. So she bought herself this machine called a Cricut. This Cricut is basically, in a sense, like a printer, except that it cuts things.
Okay.
Right? And you design over on the computer, and then you have it cut out like vinyl and foam and all these different things. So this mom has this thing for like a year, does not know how to use it. So Eileen comes to our summer camp, and she says, my mom has one, but she doesn't know how to use it. I go, no worries, Miha, we'll teach you. So this little girl, within a matter of a few days, learns how to use the machine. She then's like teaching her mom how to use the machine at home. And it's going to help her business, and this little girl went from, wow, I don't know how to do this, to like, she's making stuff.
All in.
Yeah, she's like, she's like a little business kid. Like, I could do this.
Yeah. Well, we love that story, and we're all gonna have to come over to Bell to check out this makerspace. But this is great. This has been truly informative and outstanding. So as we consider going out to Bell to visit this makerspace, We always like to wind down our Community Spotlight series by having you share more of what makes the region so interesting and special, so that others can come and visit. So as we get to learn more about you through your Los Angeles, we have a series of closing lightning round questions, so that when we come to Southeast LA, we know where the hot spots are. Are you ready for this?
Yes.
Okay. So, other than the Makerspace in Bell, share with us a favorite restaurant or two. Emma.
Rajas con crema in Maywood.
Andy.
La Casita in Bell.
Share with us a favorite watering hole, if you like watering holes.
I'll put it out there. Border X.
Right across from Bell Tech Center.
Right across the street.
In Bell.
In Bell.
Okay.
In Bell. And then
Emma?
there's those Don Chentes in Huntington Park. They have a really nice place.
Okay. I like this. Favorite place to take a visitor. Emma.
Tierra Mia. I love their coffee there.
Okay, so it's a coffee shop.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. There's so many little coffee shops out there.
Okay.
You have Casa de Café, and I think that's in Huntington Park.
Huntington Park, yeah.
And then there's one El Cafecito as well, and I think that's in Maywood.
Okay.
So coffee
Okay.
is a big thing.
Okay. Give us a hidden gem. We just did an episode where we just outlined all of the hidden gems that people shared with us in previous rounds. So give us a hidden gem that no one knows about. Emma?
It's food again. There's
it's
this
food.
lady.
Okay.
Her place is called Gorditas, and
Where? Which community?
It's in Bell.
Okay.
It's in Bell, and homemade stuff like your mom made it.
Okay.
And this woman is amazing. She's really nice, and her food is delicious.
Andy?
I'm going to go for outdoor spaces. We always talk about, wow, there's not enough green space, but the green space, and there isn't. But the green space that's out there, we've got some great parks. You've got Hollydale Park in Southgate. You've got Deals Riverfront Park as well.
Okay.
And, there's a big vision for the LA River
Yep.
in the southeast.
Yep.
That thing is going to come to fruition, and it's going to be a destination, a place that we can go. But there are some existing parks out there, and those are a couple of them.
Excellent. We love festivals and community gatherings. Share with us a favorite community event. Emma?
I have so many great memories of the Huntington Park Christmas Parade.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great. Definitely should go.
Okay.
I was going to say that one, Emma, because I like it too. But Vernon has a good street fair. I think they just had one this last month. And another one we were talking about recently, Emma, was Ciclavia.
Ciclavia.
Oh, yeah, Ciclavia
Yeah.
that came through the Southeast. It was just an awesome thing to just
that's
kind
quite
of
a
walk.
spectacle. That's wonderful.
Yeah. I also want to mention that one of the biggest shopping places for Latinos in the entire country, Pacific Boulevard. It shouldn't be a hidden gem. You want to get married, you want a quinceañera, you want a baptism, you buy your stuff there. Yeah.
Okay.
And if
Pacific
you want
Boulevard.
yeah. And it's just an experience. Just go down Pacific Boulevard and there's a Tierra Mia right there.
Okay.
Just
Coffee and food.
coffee and food, everything,
So, and that's wonderful. Andy and Emma, we really appreciate you joining us today, and really so very much appreciate learning of the work of the Southeast Community Development Corporation and what you're doing to uplift community in our region. But as we say on Civitas LA, we love to give the guests the final word. So give us a closing thought or a final a call to action.
For those out there listening, we do this as a community. So if you're nearby us, or if you're somewhere else and you're passionate about closing the digital divide, helping young people, helping families, visit our website. Have your parent, your family member who needs help, sign up for one of our classes. If you're an expert in some STEM program, STEM career, we will have you as a visitor, in one of our classes to teach our kids about what you do.
Great.
And if you have resources, there's still a lot to do.
And share with us the website, please.
It's www.scdcorp.org.
Excellent. Andy, final thought.
Yeah, Emma, that's a great way to connect. And I also just want to say thank you. Thank you for having us. Thank you to our partners. Thank you to our cities. And thank you to our board who does the great work. I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask for resources. So anybody who has the ability to partner with us, anybody out there who has some grants that we can qualify for, anybody who is looking to invest in closing the digital divide and our work, we invite you to connect with us.
That's wonderful. So, again, thank you for this dialogue, and thank you for your service to community, not only in Southeast Los Angeles, but across our region, because, our job is to amplify these voices and to facilitate connection. So we look forward to following the progress that you make, and please don't hesitate to share with us upcoming programs that the organization has so that we can continue to share that with the Civitas LA family and audience. And to our audience, as always, I'd like to say thank you for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed this program, and we hope you will join us in 2 weeks for another great civic conversation. Until we meet again, stay strong, and don't forget to get involved. To learn more about Civitas LA and to share feedback on this program or recommend a future program, please visit us at www.civitasla.com. And don't forget to connect with us on Facebook at Civitas LA, on Instagram at Civitas_LA, and on Twitter at Civitas_LA.